What if I told you that some of the biggest names from Hollywood's golden age are still alive? Right now, in 2025, they've seen the rise of television, the fall of the studio system, the birth of streaming, and they've outlived the legends they once shared the screen with. But these aren't just retired stars fading into the background. Some are still working, still performing, still making headlines. And they aren't just old. They're icons, trailblazers, survivors of a brutal industry who somehow outlasted nearly everyone else. This isn't just a list of old celebrities. It's a look into the living history of entertainment. People who've been famous longer than some of us have been alive, and who refuse to be forgotten. From Oscar winners and space travelers to actors who went toe-to-toe with Hitchcock, this is your countdown of the 15 oldest living stars in 2025, ranked from youngest to oldest. Let's start with a living legend who broke every rule and every record. 1. Rita Moreno, 93 years old. Rita Moreno isn't just a star. She's a one-woman milestone in entertainment history. Born in Puerto Rico and raised in New York City, she broke through barriers at a time when Hollywood offered few roles for Latina actresses. Her big moment came in 1961, playing Anita in West Side Story. That performance made her the first Latina to win an Oscar, and it was just the beginning. She went on to claim the rare EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Awards, proving she could shine on stage, on screen, and in the recording studio. But Moreno's path wasn't without battles. She's spoken openly about discrimination, personal struggles, and the fight for better roles. While others faded, she kept evolving, taking parts in everything from gritty dramas to modern sitcoms. In her 90s, she appeared in One Day at a Time and even returned for Spielberg's West Side Story remake. At 93, Rita Moreno is more than just a survivor. She's a blueprint for reinvention in an industry that rarely forgives time. 2. William Shatner, 94 years old. From starship captain to real-life space traveler, William Shatner has lived a life even science fiction couldn't dream up. Born in Montreal in 1931, Shatner first won hearts as Captain James T. Kirk in Star Trek, a role that would cement his status as a pop culture icon. But what sets him apart isn't just what he did in the 60s, it's what he's still doing now. At 90, Shatner boarded a real rocket ship, becoming the oldest person to travel to space aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard in 2021. The moment wasn't just symbolic, it was deeply emotional. He described the view of Earth from space as profound, showing the same wonder he brought to audiences for decades. Beyond Trek, Shatner reinvented himself with roles in T.J. Hooker, Boston Legal, and even self-parody performances that endeared him to new generations. He's also written books, recorded albums, and stayed active on social media. 3. Clint Eastwood, 94 years old. Clint Eastwood isn't just a movie star, he's a one-man filmmaking institution. Born in 1930 in San Francisco, Eastwood rose to fame playing the silent, deadly gunslinger in Sergio Leone's iconic spaghetti westerns. By the 1970s, he became a cultural force with Dirty Harry, turning
"Go ahead, make my day"
into a permanent part of Hollywood vocabulary. But Eastwood's greatest reinvention came behind the camera. Starting in his 40s, he evolved into one of America's most respected directors, known for quiet intensity and emotional depth. He won Oscars for Unforgiven and Million Dollar Baby, and even into his 80s and 90s, delivered acclaimed films like Gran Torino, American Sniper, and Cry Macho. Unlike many of his action-era peers, Eastwood challenged his own mythos, using later roles to question the violence and masculinity that once defined him. At 94, he remains one of the oldest active filmmakers in the world, and still in complete creative control. 4. Tippi Hedren, 95 years old. Tippi Hedren was plucked from a TV commercial and thrown straight into one of Alfred Hitchcock's most chilling nightmares. Born in 1930, she had no acting experience when Hitchcock cast her as the lead in The Birds. But her performance became legendary, and so did the story behind it. What audiences didn't see was the personal cost. Behind the scenes, Hedren endured obsessive control and manipulation from the director, especially during the making of Marnie. Decades later, she spoke out. Long before Hollywood was ready to listen. Her courage helped pave the way for future conversations around power and abuse in the industry. But Tippi's second act is just as compelling. After filming in Africa, she became a fierce advocate for animal rights and founded the Shambhala Preserve, a sanctuary for rescued big cats, lions, tigers, leopards. She saved them all. Even into her late 80s and 90s, she appeared in films and passed the torch to her daughter Melanie Griffith and granddaughter Dakota Johnson, creating a rare three-generation Hollywood dynasty. 5. Terry Moore, 96 years old. Terry Moore is one of the last living actresses who worked under the old Hollywood studio system, but her story goes far beyond the silver screen. Born in 1929 in Los Angeles, she was raised in the shadow of Hollywood and grew up alongside its golden age. Her breakout role came in Come Back, Little Sheba, 1952, earning her an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. It was a performance full of quiet emotion and raw vulnerability, proving Moore had the range and presence to stand out in a competitive era. But her most talked-about role wasn't on film. It was her alleged secret marriage to billionaire aviator Howard Hughes. For decades, Moore claimed they were wed in a private ceremony and never officially divorced, even producing documentation. Whether the marriage was legal or not, the story captivated the public and added a mysterious layer to her legacy. While many actresses of her era disappeared from view, Moore kept working, even into her 90s, showing a tenacity and adaptability rare in any generation. 6. Terry Kilburn, 98 years old. Terry Kilburn's face became immortal at just 12 years old, as the angelic Tiny Tim in the 1938 adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Born in London in 1926, he moved to the U.S. during the Great Depression, quickly becoming one of the most recognizable child actors of pre-war Hollywood. That soft-spoken line, "God bless us, everyone,"
God bless us, everyone,
has echoed across holiday TV screens for over 80 years. But Kilburn wasn't just a one-hit wonder. He pulled off a remarkable acting feat in Goodbye, Mr. Chips, 1939, playing 4 generations of the same family, a technical and emotional challenge few child actors could manage. Rather than cling to fading fame, Kilburn took a different path. He transitioned to theater, eventually becoming artistic director of the Meadow Brook Theater in Michigan. There, he mentored young actors and directed classic plays for decades, helping keep the stage alive. He stepped away from acting in the late 1960s, but his legacy as a bridge between Golden Age cinema and modern American theater remains unmatched. 7. Mel Brooks, 98 years old. Mel Brooks didn't just make people laugh, he redefined what comedy could be. Born Melvin Kaminsky in Brooklyn in 1926, he started as a TV writer in the 1950s, working alongside legends like Carl Reiner and Neil Simon. But it was his boldness behind the camera that made him a legend. With The Producers, 1967, Brooks turned Nazi satire into Oscar-winning brilliance. Then came Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and Spaceballs, all absurd, fearless, and unforgettable. He pushed boundaries, using humor to tackle topics others wouldn't touch, and in the process created some of the most quoted comedies of all time. Brooks is also one of the rare EGOT winners, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. His work spans film, TV, Broadway, and animation, bringing laughs to generation after generation. And even now, he's not finished. In his 90s, he voiced animated characters, wrote a best-selling memoir, and helped produce History of the World Part 2 in 2023. 8. David Attenborough, 98 years old.
I am David Attenborough, and
tonight we've got rather a different program for you.
Sir David Attenborough has spent his life giving a voice to the planet. And at 98, that voice still carries. Born in 1926 in London, his career began in the 1950s with the BBC, and he quickly became the face of nature programming around the world. But Attenborough wasn't just narrating, he was reshaping how we see the Earth. With Life on Earth, 1979, he brought global wildlife to television screens in ways that had never been done before. From mountain gorillas in Rwanda to polar bears on drifting ice, he went where few dared, often filming in extreme conditions well into his later years. What makes him even more remarkable is how he evolved with the times. From black and white documentaries to 4K Ultra HD, he's kept pace with technology and used it to deliver urgent messages about climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental destruction. His calm tone and poetic delivery have become a symbol of trust across generations. Attenborough doesn't just inform, he inspires action. 9. Dick Van Dyke, 99 years old. Few stars have ever made joy look so effortless. Dick Van Dyke, born in 1925 in Missouri, became a household name with the Dick Van Dyke Show in the early 60s, but it was Mary Poppins that launched him into global stardom. As Bert the Chimney Sweep, he sang, danced, and charmed his way into cinema history. That role, along with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, sealed his place as one of the most beloved entertainers of all time. But what truly makes Van Dyke remarkable is what came after. He didn't fade, he adapted. In the 90s, he led Diagnosis, Murder, proving he could still headline a hit series. He made surprise appearances in films well into his 90s, even dancing at age 93 in Mary Poppins Returns. Behind the scenes, he stayed committed to health and positivity, with workout videos of him going viral in his mid-90s. His marriage at 86 to a woman decades younger? Just more proof that he follows his own rules. 10. June Lockhart, 99 years old. June Lockhart didn't just star in American television, she helped define it. Born in 1925 to a family of actors, she made her screen debut as a teenager in A Christmas Carol, 1938, playing opposite her real-life father. But her career didn't just begin early. It never really stopped. In the 1950s and 60s, She became a fixture in American homes, playing iconic mother figures in two legendary series, Lassie and Lost in Space. To millions of viewers, she wasn't just an actress, she was family. Her calm, warm presence helped shape the image of the ideal television mom for generations. But Lockhart wasn't limited to one type. She won a Tony Award, tackled science fiction, did voice work, and appeared on everything from Petticoat Junction to General Hospital. Her career spanned 8 decades, and she kept acting well into her 90s. 11. Eva Marie Saint, 100 years old. Eva Marie Saint may be 100 years old, but her legacy remains ageless. Born on the 4th of July in 1924, she earned an Oscar for her very first film role, opposite Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront, 1954, and she accepted the award while 8 months pregnant. Her career could have ended there, but she wasn't finished. Just 5 years later, she played the cool, mysterious Eve Kendall in Hitchcock's North by Northwest, 1959, holding her own opposite Cary Grant and becoming one of the most memorable femme fatales in cinematic history. But Saint did something few actresses dared. She stepped back, chose family, and avoided the burnout of Hollywood's grind. Her careful selection of roles across 7 decades made each appearance count, whether in film, television, or theater. Married to director Jeffrey Hayden for 65 years, she balanced fame with personal integrity, raising a family while maintaining quiet control of her career.
I just realized something. I'm older than the Academy.
12th Anne Blyth, 101 years old. Anne Blyth was once one of Hollywood's brightest young stars, and today, at 101, she remains one of its most quietly enduring. Born in 1928 in New York, she began performing on radio at age 5 and made her film debut as a teenager. Her breakthrough came with Mildred Pierce, 1945, playing the chillingly manipulative daughter opposite Joan Crawford. That role earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, a stunning accomplishment at just 16 years old. But unlike many starlets of her era, Blyth didn't chase fame at all costs. She transitioned into musicals and light comedies, showing off a trained soprano voice in films like The Student Prince. By the late 1950s, she chose family life over the spotlight, appearing only occasionally on screen thereafter. She stepped away on her own terms, living a private life that stood in contrast to her intense on-screen roles. But among classic film fans, she's never been forgotten. 13. Vera Miles, 102 years old. Vera Miles never chased the spotlight, but she helped create some of cinema's most unforgettable moments. Born in 1929 in Oklahoma, she began her career in beauty pageants before landing acting roles in the early 1950s. Director Alfred Hitchcock saw something in her, casting her first in The Wrong Man, 1956, and later as Lila Crane in Psycho, 1960, the determined sister who unravels the film's terrifying mystery. While Janet Leigh screamed in the shower, it was Miles who carried the story's final twist. Hitchcock once intended for her to be the next Grace Kelly, even planning Vertigo around her. But when she became pregnant, the role went to Kim Novak, a decision that quietly changed film history. Miles continued acting through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, often in thrillers and dramas, before stepping away from the camera in the mid-90s. Since then, she's lived a life far from Hollywood's glare. 14. Ray Anthony, 103 years old. Ray Anthony isn't just a musician, he's a living time machine to the big band era. Born in 1922 in Pennsylvania, he is the last surviving member of the Glenn Miller Orchestra, the most iconic swing band of its time. He started playing trumpet as a child and joined Miller's band when he was just 18. In 1941, he even appeared in the musical film Sun Valley Serenade, performing on screen during the golden age of swing. After serving in the Navy during World War II, Anthony launched his own band. And hits like the Bunny Hop and Dragnet theme turned him into a household name. He wasn't just a band leader. He was part of the soundtrack to post-war America. In the 1950s, he crossed into television with The Ray Anthony Show, performed in films, and played alongside Hollywood legends like Jane Mansfield. Over the decades, his music continued to find new audiences through parties, films, and nostalgia circuits. 15. Elizabeth Waldo. 106 years old. At 106 years old, Elizabeth Waldo isn't just the oldest living star on this list. She's one of the most unique. Born in 1918 in Washington State, her life and career began before radio was mainstream and long before television existed. Waldo was a musical prodigy, singing at age 3 and playing violin by 5. Trained at the prestigious Curtis Institute, she could have followed the traditional path of a classical musician. Instead, she chose something far more daring, fusing indigenous music with Western orchestration decades before the term world music even existed. In the 1940s, she toured Latin America and collaborated with artists like Diego Rivera, who encouraged her to preserve pre-Columbian musical traditions. Her recordings in the 1950s and 60s brought ancient instruments into modern studios, a revolutionary act at the time. She didn't chase fame. She chased culture. She preserved history through sound. Elizabeth Waldo isn't just a violinist or composer. She's a cultural bridge. And at 106, her legacy is etched not just in music, but in time itself. We've just taken a journey through over a century of entertainment history, not through dusty archives or old film reels, but through the lives of stars who are still with us in 2025. These 15 legends didn't just survive the industry, they shaped it, adapted to it, and in many cases outlived it. From Rita Moreno's groundbreaking roles to Elizabeth Waldo's century-spanning musical legacy, each one reminds us that creativity doesn't expire. Reinvention doesn't stop at 60. And age? It's just another chapter. They've danced with animated penguins, walked the red carpet, flown to space, and even helped change laws. But perhaps their most powerful achievement is this. They've stayed curious, they've stayed involved, and by doing so, they've stayed inspiring. So here's the question. Which of these living legends surprised you the most? Whose work still moves you? Drop a comment below. We'd love to know which performance, song, or story stuck with you. And if this countdown gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and remember, legends never really leave us. Not as long as we keep watching.